There are stories that heaven whispers into history, not to entertain us, but to awaken those who have fallen asleep in a world at war. This is one of those stories. Padre Pio understood sooner than most that the fiercest battles are not fought with steel or fire, but in the hidden realm where the soul is the trophy. Every wound that carved his flesh, every night he spent wrestling with shadows, every tear he shed when no one was watching, none of it was weakness. They were the scars of a soldier drafted into a war older than time itself. He knew evil was not a myth or a metaphor. He knew demons were not symbols of negative energy or psychological distress. They were personal, intelligent, cruel. And he knew something that terrifies them far more than exorcisms and holy water combined: prayer. But heaven wanted to show him exactly why prayer has the power to shake hell. One night, after hearing confessions for hours upon hours, Padre Pio finally collapsed into his bed, exhausted. The friary was silent, except for the wind brushing against ancient stones and the distant murmur of monks asleep behind closed doors. His eyes closed, but not into sleep, into revelation. Without warning, he found himself in the friary's choir loft, high above the courtyard. The cold stone floor beneath his feet felt too real to be imagination. A stillness, thick and heavy, filled the air. He moved toward the window, unsure whether he was awake. That's when he saw them. The courtyard below was packed wall to wall, with figures not belonging to this world. Their bodies resembled the silhouettes of men, but twisted, distorted, stretched by hatred. Torches flickered, casting grotesque shadows upon their snarling faces. The silence was more terrifying than a scream, because silence means control. Silence means intent. Padre Pio, forcing his fear back down into his chest, shouted into the night, "Who are you? What do you want?" The reply did not come from mouths, but from the very air, like sulfur igniting. "We want the death of Padre Pio." No one had ever spoken his name with such venom. He stumbled backward, his heart pounding, realizing the truth every saint eventually learns. When you fight for souls, hell fights back. For one terrible moment he felt small, fragile, powerless. And then, a presence. A fragrance sweeter than roses. A silence more powerful than thunder. The Virgin Mary appeared behind him, radiant and calm, like a queen walking through the battlefield without fear. She did not arrive with spectacle, but with authority. She looked into his trembling eyes and spoke the words only a mother, only this mother, could speak. "Do not be afraid. I am here." Then she lifted her hands, and what she carried was not a sword of steel or a weapon forged by men. It was a rosary, glowing like a blade carved out of heaven's own light. She placed it into his hands and commanded, "Take this weapon. Go to the window and use it. Its power reaches 50 kilometers. Obedience replaced fear. Faith replaced doubt." With holy boldness, Padre Pio held the weapon out over the courtyard. He did not understand. He did not need to. He simply used it. And hell fell. In an instant, the monstrous army collapsed to the ground like puppets with their strings cut. No explosions, no screams, just the silent, crushing defeat of evil by something infinitely greater than violence. Light and love had done what force and terror never could. The dream faded. He awoke shaking and drenched in sweat. But as sleep pulled him under again, he returned to the same window, the same courtyard. Except this time, it was filled not with demons, but with ordinary people, families, sinners, souls, hungry for hope. They cried out, "Father, we are your children. We want your blessing. Not hatred, but love. Not threats, but longing. Padre Pio leaned out, overcome with emotion, and declared, "O God be praised. My children, I bless you. Be constant and persevere. Follow me, obey me, and do not be afraid. Not a single hair on your head shall be touched." He woke, knowing heaven had revealed a truth so immense, it demanded to be lived. Days later, his nephew Mario visited. Padre Pio, too weak to rise, looked at him and said, "Mario, bring me my weapon." Mario searched desperately, but found no weapon, no blade, no firearm. He returned, confused. "But uncle, you don't own any weapon." Padre Pio instructed him, "Check the pocket of my habit." Mario searched again. Nothing, except a rosary. He held it up, puzzled. Padre Pio's voice rose with a sharpness only saints possess when speaking truth. "Fool! Isn't that the weapon?" From then on, every spiritual child of Padre Pio would repeat one sentence. The rosary is Padre Pio's weapon. And heaven confirmed that truth long before Padre Pio ever dreamed of it. Pope Leo XIII, watchman of the 19th century, the Pope who understood that a storm of unbelief was rising, searched for a solution against society's abandoning God. He saw ideologies poisoning nations, families dissolving, Satan believing he could sit upon thrones. Leo XIII did what heaven had taught him to do. He placed a weapon into the hands of the Church. 11 encyclicals, 5 apostolic letters, all on one devotion, the Holy Rosary. He saw the battle coming, he saw the darkness gathering, and he cried out into history, "The Rosary is the anchor." The Pope knew what many Christians are only now beginning to realize. The future of humanity does not depend on politics or technology, but on whether believers still pick up the Rosary. Because every Hail Mary is an act of defiance against the kingdoms of darkness. Every mystery is a memory of God's victory. Every bead is a chain that binds the pride of Lucifer. Hell hates the Rosary, because the Rosary is a remembrance of everything hell lost forever. Perhaps Satan's greatest victory today is not that he convinced people to hate prayer, but that he convinced them to forget prayer, to delay prayer, to doubt its value, to think it is a relic from a world less intelligent, less evolved, less modern. But ask yourself, if humanity is so advanced, why is despair everywhere? Why is loneliness the new plague? Why does anxiety rule the heart? Technology might improve life, but only grace can save life. Padre Pio would tell you, pray even when you are exhausted. Pray even when you feel nothing. Pray especially when you think prayer does not matter, because that thought itself is the whisper of an enemy terrified of your weapon. When you hold a rosary, heaven holds you. When your fingers move across the beads, angels move across the battlefield. When your lips speak the name of Mary, the gates of hell are shaken. The rosary is not magic, it is not superstition. It is the gospel turned into a sword. It is faith braided into courage. It is a mother placing her hand on yours and saying, "Do not be afraid. I am here." If the darkness in your life feels overwhelming, if sin seems impossible to defeat, if fear is knocking at your door late at night, remember the scene that heaven showed Padre Pio. A lone friar, facing an army of demons, victorious because a mother gave him a weapon, and that same weapon lies within your reach tonight. Pick up your rosary. Hold it tight. Pray with humility. Pray with perseverance. Pray as if a soul were at stake, because one is yours. The victory of heaven is not won by the strongest or the proudest, but by those who refuse to drop the sword. And in this war, those who pray are the ones who win.